So here I am in my workshop sitting on my 2019 GS Adventure. The reason why I sit on this is I have a small new project for this bike. It might not even be that small of a project. Time will tell, time will tell. But what I'm doing is originally when I bought my first GS, I had the original BMW Motorrad sat-nav system in it. And I totally overpaid for it. It became obsolete in no time. And the only thing it kind of had going for it was that I could use the BMW Wonder Wheel to control the map. So I could zoom in, zoom out. And that was quite convenient. But like many other things, it turned out I really never used it for what it was intended to do. So when I bought my KTM, I had a 790 Adventure R. I made this big rally tower in the front of it, and I wanted some type of navigation that wasn't my telephone. Because if that thing got wet, I dropped it, I broke it, whatever, maybe I couldn't use it for navigation. So I bought the Garmin Sumo XT, and I thought that was kind of the sweet spot between navigation and being quite convenient, and most importantly, I could upload GPX files to it. So the reason why I upload GPX files is because when I ride the TET trail, the Trans-European Trail in Denmark, Sweden, wherever I go, I can upload the updated maps to that system. And for a long time, I think it worked pretty well. It was a bit of a hassle updating the maps that you need to do because the trail changed and the people who have the different estates where you ride by, they complain and the route gets changed. And if you don't have the updated map, you wouldn't know, you would just blast through. So I kind of went on a journey of what to get then. And I was content with it until Mess and I went roadbook rallying quite recently. And roadbook rallying is, in all sense and purposes, a slow race because it has nothing to do with speed from you getting from point A to point B looking at what's called a roadbook. So it's simple navigation where you take into consideration the odometer, the trip counter on the bike to do certain turns within. At this point, you have to go between the trees and you have to go on the dirt road or the gravel road that way. And then at this mileage, you do this and so forth. But in order to do that, you need to scroll. And this is where I had to look for a different solution. So when we went roadbook rallying, I noticed a lot of the different guys had tablets in the fronts of their bikes. And that just looked to be a bit redundant, maybe a bit unnecessary. But what became really obvious was you need to glance when you stand on the bike. I do a lot of standing on the bike when we do these off-road riding, especially doing these roadbook rallies. But you need to be able to just glance at the screen to see what you have to do, and you have to be able to scroll through it. So I just bought a Samsung tablet, a Samsung Active 3 tablet, which is a pretty simple tablet, but it takes a SIM card and a mount for it. So I'm going to mount that up. I'm going to put a controller, which is just a kind of wired remote or a Bluetooth remote that controls the screen. So you can scroll through, zoom in and out, and adjust the odometer accordingly. So this is what we're going to do. So right now, this is what I'm riding with. It is a Samsung Sumo XT. It's just a sat-nav, just a basic sat-nav. It's pretty good and it's pretty robust and it does main things I want it to do. So I bought a mount. So I bought this mount, which is from RAM, like a plate that fits on top, and it has these small mounts that you kind of put on it, the RAM mounts. So that's kind of just a hook, the short hook here that sits on each side. So this small piece is going to go on the bike. So I'm going to have to remove this whole assembly here and leave this crossbar and put it on the crossbar. So crossbar with the hook on it, the plate, and then the tablet sitting across from it. But that's just half the fun because I have to find a way to control it. And being that this is a GS, there are a million buttons everywhere. So normally I would prefer to have it on my left-hand side. And the reason being is when I grab the handle, it would be nice to be able to control the roadbook without taking my hand off the throttle. But being that this is full of controls already, that's kind of difficult. So I could, in theory, move the mirror just a little bit to the right and maybe fit it where the mirror is today, but it's still quite of a long stretch because the button is all the way down here, the toggle button on it. So I'm going to have to put it on the different side. And I know Carpe Eder makes a system where you can just fit it with a BMW controller that you can just fit on top of the throttle casing. The problem is that's also a pretty closed system, and I want to use a certain app for riding this DND2 or whatever it's called. So I need to be able to have something a bit more universal. So I bought a controller, and I'm going to have to fit that here. So pushing the mirror housing just a little to the side where the front brake is situated as well. So just to create a gap here at about, I don't know, 30 mil or something like that to be able to fit the controller, and I would be able to use that, maybe even without taking my hand off the throttle completely. Maybe just kind of, yeah, having 2 or 3 fingers on the throttle. So maybe that should work. So right now the task is to get this thing off, get all the hardware on, and then wait till we get the tablet in-house. Like with anything else, there are a million different things to choose between. The tablet itself was the first main focus, what to get. Carpe Eder makes this kind of really cool system that actually is built for the purpose, but the cost of it is pretty high as well, all things considering. So I went with a Samsung tablet. It needed to be a tablet that was kind of cheap. It doesn't need to be the newest one because, to be honest, I'm not going to use it for Netflix and proper screen stuff. It's just a piece of navigation, and it needs to be able to handle the terrain. So it seems like there isn't a really big market for Android-based tablets that are rugged and closed for water and can take the shaking and stuff like that. So I went with that one. And for the mounts as well, there was a lot of different options, but it seemed like this plate system here from RAM, and this is just a passive mount. You can get these where they have small pins in the bottom where you feed the tablet into, and it feeds the power that way through these small tabs. But the problem is all the shaking, all the dust, all the water, all these different stuff that gets in here. Over time, I've read that becomes really, really unreliable. And the best part is just to get a power cable, like a USB-C, maybe the one from Quadlock. I saw the one from Quadlock has these different small like ridges on the side that seems like a seal when you press it into the plug. So that might actually work. So the tablet I got is this one up here, which is the Samsung Active Tab 3. And the controller I got as well, I went for this model. And the reason why I went for that model is because it has simple 3 buttons that do simple things, and it has an up and down toggle in the bottom to scroll. And that seemed really simple. I don't know about wiring all this stuff, so I'm going to have to figure out a way to do that. And in order to do that, I'm probably going to have to take the tank shell off, maybe some of the fairings, but I guess we'll see. Everything now is getting close to being assembled. The tablet is in the cradle. I've hooked it up to the power. So I used this USB-C plug from a Quadlock that has like a rubber grommet around it, so that creates a seal next to the plug to make that waterproof, and just routed it all the way down to my USB connector here. So this is working now and it's charging, and see, it's at 100% up there. So that's all working. So right now I need to find space for the controller, which has arrived today. And this is a ARN Rally Pro controller. It has these 3 buttons, and it has a toggle here up and down to go up and down in the map. So the plan was to put it right here in between. So I've just removed the SOS button, and this is just a fixture for the mirror. So I'm hoping I can space that a little bit in between and fit that right there, so I might just be able to just reach it with my right thumb. Or that's the plan anyways. I have the standard hand guards on now, and I've just ordered, see how much I've taken that thing apart just to get rid of, get access to all this stuff. So all this stuff is apart now. I'm gonna have to get that all assembled again. But what just also arrived are these. So I've been thinking about buying these for a while, or a type of version of them, but this fits the R1250GS with the just standard Barkbuster hand guards. So I'm not too sure as to how much that's going to change the assembly here, because this right now this sits this plastic handguard sits on top of the mount for the mirror, and I don't think the other one does that. So I'm not too sure if the master cylinder is going to be in the way, but we're going to find out. But looking pretty good right now. Really looking forward to this. So thus has the install of the navigation tablet and the controller concluded. Finally finished right now. It took quite a while. The reason being, I ordered stuff from different sites like you do, and some of them are really good at showing up with stuff early, and some of them are really, really late in having stuff shipped. And at the end, when I got the controller, they put the wrong thing in the box, so I had to write them an email and ask them to send this out pretty quickly, and they did. So in all fairness, I got it, and everything is now complete. So what we did was we took the Samsung Active 3 tablet, put it in a RAM tablet mount, like a cradle, just a passive cradle that doesn't have any power to it, but has an external USB-C. I took the USB-C cable off a quad lock case that have these small rubber grommets that seal the USB plug, routed it all the way through, and got everything hooked up. Bought the ARN Rally Pro controller to control it, and I'll show you in a second how that works. Wanted it to fit it on my handlebars, but that wasn't possible. So heading out to Poland in the very near future, and really looking forward to trying this out. I hope things don't fall apart. I hope the weight of the tablet can be held by the RAM mount. Usually they can, but there is quite a lot of weight to it, so I don't think. I'm not too sure. I'll see you however that goes, but check it out. So this is the tablet itself, and like you see, it sits on this cradle, put on a RAM mount that's secured right here, held down really, really snug. And the power just going down the old arm, the old crossbar for the GPS, the original GPS. So that works really nice. It's a simple tablet, but it's water resistant, weatherproof, shake proof, and all things. So that should work out well. So what I did was, this is the ARN Rally Pro controller. It's simple three action buttons and a toggle that goes back and forward. The buttons do the zooming in and out. This resets the trip, and the toggle makes the map go up and down if you do a rally book. So I wanted to mount it between the SOS button and the starter button here. So I wanted to separate these two and just get the thickness of this in between so I could just reach it. That wasn't possible at all. Apparently the SOS button, the whole cradle here, they're joined together inside by 2 screws. So if I take that off, this will just keep flying around. And this is where the stem for the mirror is attached, so that wouldn't work at all. So couldn't put it on the other side. There's just too many controls. Check this out. I have pretty small hands, all things considering, and I can reach this button, this button, this button, but there's no way in hell I would be able to reach over here. So that's just not possible. That's just not possible, not at all. So what I came up with, I'll put it around the stem for the mirror mount, and that looks maybe a bit peculiar, some would say. I actually quite like it. I've become to like it anyways. So this works pretty well. So if I have my hand here, I can press the buttons quite easily, and I can also toggle here. So see how when I press the button, it zooms in and out of the map. So that just makes it much more convenient that I don't have to take my hand off the handlebars in an off-road situation and kind of scroll through the screen. Another plus is I can freeze the screen, so all the water that lands on the screen won't make the screen activate and zoom up and down and toggle in and out and whatever mind of its own it probably has. So that works really, really well. This is what the bike looks like now. So I put the bark busters on as well. I didn't really think I would need these. To be honest, the old ones, the original ones just in plastic, I fell on them a bunch of times, but they've actually never broken. So that wasn't the reason why I was going to change them. The reason why I was going to change them are the old mount from the old standard handrails or handguards. They sit over the top towards the stem, so I couldn't fit the controller on the stem if I left them on. And another thing, these have a higher reach, so when I'm driving, my hands are much more tucked behind the handguards, both in terms of safety when I ride off-road, but also just when running down the motorway at high speeds in cold winds, and it doesn't really cool the hand that much. So these are on now. So this is what it looks like. To be honest, my cousin Ross just bought a 1300 GS, which is a nice bike. But when I see the ruggedness of the 1250 GS Adventure and the way the stance it has and the way it looks, I'm never going to buy a 1300. I think this thing looks a million times better than the 1300 ever will. I know it has new features, new stuff, but just look the shape of it. Just look the shape of this machine here. How badass that looks. Yep, this is the bike for me. So that's everything complete now. I think it looks pretty goddamn cool with the dual screen setup with the tablet. I'm really curious as to how it'll work, but I guess I'll find out. And if you liked this, please follow and subscribe and look for more content. A lot of different content coming up. On-road, off-road, on-track, off-track, all kinds of stuff. Everything that has to do with motorcycles. I'll see you guys.